Hello, welcome to my studio. This is just a little video. It's to do with the approach I took with learning lines and divvying up my script to make it more user-friendly when I was in Under Milk Wood, which just closed last week. This kind of video is just an approach for an actor to a script and how we can make it a bit easier to memorize things when we get given the script. How we can approach it, and then think about how we can memorize the lines. And it's a technique for doing that. Now, I'm sure there are some of you who know this already, but this is for people who perhaps are not aware of this particular technique. Okay, so I was in Under Milk Wood. We started our rehearsals back in January, and we went on stage eventually in April. So it was a pretty long process. Now, here is my script. See? No. Big. Now, I was cast as the voice. Okay, very good. Lovely role. Nice speaky role, obviously. Well, it's the voice, isn't it? So, the problem is, it's the voice. It's not, if you like, a traditional character. Nor is, of course, Under Milk Wood a particularly traditional play. It's not really a play that has a development of characters within it. Rather, it's a series of vignettes, if you like. It's much more like a processional play that you might have seen a very long time ago, where we see these little snippets of action going on. This is a problem because we don't get this progression of character, which helps to develop character when we, as actors, try to look at it. And especially as voice, I don't actually interact with any of the characters directly most of the time. I was cast as one of the voices. The director took the decision to divide the role up into 3 parts. Unfortunately, one of the actors had to pull out very early, but we recorded her parts to then have so that we could interact with them there. Nevertheless, it left there. So, how do we go ahead doing something like Under Milk Wood? Well, the first thing, of course, is you read your script. Don't just read your parts. Very, very important. Understand the script. You'd be amazed how many people just get a role and just don't read the rest of the play or what the other people are doing. Don't do that. Read it. So this is it, okay, there. And the trouble is, Under Milk Wood doesn't have actual scenes or acts per se. It is the course of a day, going from nighttime to dawn to the morning, afternoon, evening and night once more. So there is no formal layout of where the division of time or action actually is. So my first thing to do was read through this. Then it was to, as you can see, highlight the parts that are my speaking lines. So there you go, a few there. And once it is done like this, you can see that it's quite bitty because I'm introducing characters more than anything, rather than interacting with them. I found this immensely difficult, first of all, to get my head around because I like, as an actor, to interact with whoever I am working with. Anyway, because of that, it took me a long time to get my head around doing that. I thought, how can I approach putting the script together in a way that I can break it into segments, see how they interact with each other, and then, of course, memorize the lines. And, of course, do a South Walian accent or a passable South Walian accent. So, I, first of all, did my lines. But then I looked at the script a second time, thinking about who's coming on when, where, how. And I divided the script up into basically not exactly scenes, because they're not scenes as such. They're more vignettes or moments. And I ended up with this. So this is just an example. And I have a notebook for all the times when I'm memorizing lines where I started like this. So what we've got here, when I started doing this, I could have just done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But I just read some Shakespeare, and it's like I started using Roman numerals, and I kept that format up. So what I've got here is I broke the script up in here, and I divided it according to when new characters appear or when there's a new kind of interaction or moment. So I broke that up there, and you can see that we get there. So you'll see the numbers here. Then I've given each section a name as well. I've also then highlighted which ones I actually appear in there. So you can see all the purple ones, and that orange one there is where that was added. And then you'll see down here I've written the timing of each scene. So I've got a good idea of the movement of there. And in my own head, at least, I've created a set of acts and scenes that I can work with. So once I've done that, I've got a better idea of when and where and how I'm interacting as my character and who with. Most of the time, these are the names of the characters coming in under Milkwood. I don't know if you can see that exactly with my terrible handwriting. I know, I'm a teacher. It's awful, isn't it? Anyway, so I did that. Then I looked at that and thought about how within that there might be links and sections. So there's one section that in my head I called Children and Vegetables and Captain Cat, because that's the section where I am talking about Captain Cat, school children playing, and also I mentioned the word vegetables, as in the line, "Vegetables make love above the tenors, and dogs bark blue in the face." Anyway, I've done that. So I've broken down my scenes. That makes it more handleable. However, I'll point this out, Under Milkwood is not that long. There are over 100 different moments within it where we get new movements and new characters coming in. That means there's a lot of action going on all the time. And in a cast of 22 people, that's a lot in 2 hours. Trust me. Okay, so I've got there. Now, what do I do with my lines? Okay, well, of course, you've got to memorise them. But how do you do that? There are lots of different techniques, but the one I've found that works for me is this. Now, I don't know if you can see that very well. Again, my terrible handwriting. But in here, I've written down the first letter of every word of everything I say, including the punctuation. This sounds crazy. What you do is basically you read your line here and actually read it out loud to yourself or record yourself, okay? Then read it and write down the first letter of each line. So there we go. It says here, right there, I don't know if you can see that. It says TBATB, to begin at the beginning. Of course. And it has the punctuation too. That's really, really important, actually, because it really helps you. So we're using capital letters, colons, semicolons, commas, etc., etc. Doing this technique, it works brilliantly with speeches. You can learn a lot of information very, very quickly. So I've got that there. Not only that, you remember it for years afterwards if you are ever cast in the same play ever again. Very useful. You'll see that I've got just the various things there. So here's another example. You'll see at the bottom there's an orange part. So that's where I had extra lines added. So I put that in there too. Did it work? Yes, eventually. For this character, I really had to get on stage with it to see how I could make a physical interaction of the voice with the characters. How did I move around them? How did I move around the stage and also through the auditorium? Once I got that, then the lines properly settled. But trust me, and this has probably been the most difficult challenge I've done with acting, because I was on stage for the entire time of the performance. I didn't come off once except to fly through the audience with a little evil chuckle when I was Jack Black. Not the Jack Black in the King Kong and all that, but Jack Black in Undermilk. Yeah, well, you get what I mean. Anyway, so there we go. So I'm on stage all the time. I don't get a break. I don't get to go off and run through a line for the next scene or think what my cue is there. I'm staying on and interacting with all the characters in my own way. And as a voice, I have to be an active listener too. So it was an act of immense concentration, but also making sure I had the whole script in my head all the time. I know. It was actually great. So I'm going to have a beer now. This is Sinbad Sailor's pint prop. It's not real. I liberated it. Anyway, that's what I did. So when you get a script, read it through, highlight your lines, break it into parts if it's not already done so. It works very well if you do it with in collaboration with the rest of the team. But in this case, because as a voice, it's better for me just to do it by myself. If a play already is broken into scenes already, give those scenes a memorable name. That gives you a place of location as well, and it really helps with thinking through there. Use key words that are taken from that scene or something that is memorable to that particular scene. Another example is when I did Betrayal with Harold Pinter's Betrayal a few years back. We called one scene Squash Babies because it was about squash and babies. Easy to remember. So do that, highlight your things, break it into sections, and then try this technique where you read the line, write down the first letter of every word, including the punctuation for each sentence, and then try to remember the lines by looking at your letters. Okay? If you can't remember them, go back to the script, go back to this, and keep going until you wean yourself off the script, and then you just have these notebooks or whatever you're using and wean yourself off. You should find that you remember the script pretty well. Anyway, that's it. Thank you very much. Bye.